The Great Illusion. Open Instagram, and you will see a country that no longer exists. It is a carefully curated hallucination. You will see the sparkling lights of the Eiffel Tower, the 10,000 euro Birkin bags on the Champs-Élysées, and the terraces of Saint-Tropez, where billionaires lazily sip vintage Dom Perignon. This is the brand France Incorporated, the world's capital of the good life, the home of LVMH and Hermes, a storefront that the whole world envies. But if you turn off this glamorous filter and open the dry economic reports of 2025, a horror movie emerges. Behind the glittering facade of the luxury sector lies a country that is quietly but rapidly becoming poor. We are used to considering France a peer of the United States or Germany. Forget it. That was in the past. In terms of real economic weight and purchasing power, France today is not California or New York. It is on the level of Mississippi or Arkansas. We are witnessing a phenomenon that economists call the Great European Stagnation. And the epicenter of this rot is in Paris. For the average French citizen, the art de vivre, the art of living, is turning into the art of surviving. The museum economy and the technological void. To understand the scale of the decline, we have to look at the numbers that the politicians in the Élysée Palace are terrified to talk about. In 2008, before the global financial crisis, the economies of the Eurozone and the United States were roughly the same size. Today, almost 20 years later, the U.S. economy is nearly 50% larger. This isn't just a gap, it is a chasm. While America rode the tech boom, creating trillion-dollar corporations, France didn't just miss the boat. It stayed on the pier debating union rights. Where is the French Google? Where is the French Apple? Where is the French Tesla or Nvidia? They don't exist. Instead, France has turned into a museum economy. It is a beautiful place to spend money if you are a wealthy tourist, but it is a terrible place to earn that money and grow it. The country trades on its past, wine, cheese, and handbags, because it failed to build a future. The poverty trap, smicardization, and the housing nightmare. The French middle class, the pride of the Republic, is now being crushed by a unique economic press. On one side, food and energy prices have shot into space. On the other, salaries feel like they have been poured into concrete. Walk into a supermarket in Lyon or Marseille. Price tags are rewritten every week. But unlike in the U.S., where incomes often rise to match inflation, France is suffering from a terrifying phenomenon, smicardization, named after the minimum wage, the SMIC. Historically, the minimum wage was a starting pad for a student or intern. In the 1990s, only 10% of workers earn the minimum wage. Today, the minimum wage is not a start. It is the finish line for an entire nation. In 2025, nearly 18% of the workforce is stuck on this base salary. But the real tragedy isn't even that. The tragedy is that millions of skilled professionals, engineers, teachers, nurses, earn just 100 or 200 euros more than the minimum. Imagine you studied at university for 5 years, passed the hardest exams, you carry responsibility for human lives, and at the end of the month, you receive a paycheck that is barely different from a janitor's salary. The social elevator is broken. Hard work no longer pays. Add to this the housing dead end that is finishing off the youth. Even if you find a job, where will you live? The real estate market has turned into a private club for the elderly. In Paris, a young couple hands over 50% of their combined income to rent a tiny studio. The dream of homeownership is dead for anyone under 40 who doesn't have a rich inheritance. You aren't working for your future. You are working to pay off the mortgage of your landlord, who bought that apartment 30 years ago for pennies. This is 21st century feudalism. The crime scene on the payslip and bureaucratic hell. Why don't employers pay more? Is it just greed? No. The reason lies in the most brutal and convoluted tax system in the developed world. In any normal country, a payslip is a simple receipt. In France, it is a crime scene and a 40-line puzzle. Let's do the math that the French government prays you never do. Imagine a small business owner in Bordeaux. He wants to hire a talented programmer and pay him 3,000 euros net into his bank account, a decent but not fantastic salary. Do you know how much this costs the company? Nearly 6,000 euros. Where did the other 3,000 go? It evaporated into the black hole of social charges, the so-called cotisations. France has created a system where you are forced to pay 2 salaries to hire one person. The employee takes one, the state takes the other. This paralysis is amplified by the legendary French bureaucracy. The labor code is a red book 3,000 pages thick. It dictates everything, from the number of windows in an office to the exact temperature of the water in the toilets. It is a straitjacket for business. Bureaucracy has become the 4th branch of government, unelected but with the power to block any initiative. Firing an employee in France is harder than divorcing your wife. So companies are simply terrified to hire people on permanent contracts, creating a generation of eternal temps. And the main question, where does this money go? With taxes consuming 57% of GDP, a world record, the streets of Paris should be paved with gold. Hospitals should look like spaceships from the future. In reality, hospitals lack staff, and wait times in the ER are 10 hours long. Schools are plummeting in the PISA rankings. The police are overwhelmed and demoralized. This is the French paradox. You pay Scandinavian taxes, but you get Mediterranean services. The money isn't going to development. It is going to redistribution, a giant machine that takes from the working to pay for the piece of the non-working. Industrial and agricultural suicide. While Germany fought tooth and nail for its factories, France sold them off. For 40 years, politicians fed the people a fairy tale about a post-industrial service economy. The idea was beautiful. We will design the technology, and China can dirty its hands with the assembly. They were wrong, fatally wrong. If you don't have factories, you don't have innovation. The statistics for the first half of 2025 are terrifying. Nearly twice as many factories closed in France as opened, 82 closures against 44 openings. Chemicals, automotive, metallurgy, entire sectors are simply vanishing. But it isn't just factories dying. Look at what has always been the soul and pride of France, agriculture. We are used to thinking we feed all of Europe. That is a lie. Today, every second chicken eaten in France is imported. We are swapping our farmers for cheap produce from Brazil and Spain, while our own producers drown in debt and Brussels' environmental regulations. The French countryside is dying in silence. The suicide statistics among farmers are the Republic's darkest secret. Every 2 days, a farmer takes their own life. This isn't just economics, it is the erasure of national identity. Go to the north of France, to the old industrial heartland. You won't find bustling workshops. You will find rust, silence, and anger. Industry today provides a pitiful 10% of GDP, whereas in Germany it is nearly 20%. The country consumes things it does not produce, and it pays for this banquet with money it does not have. The debt bomb and political chaos. And here we arrive at the finale, the debt. France has been living beyond its means for half a century. The last time the budget was balanced without a deficit was in 1974, 50 years of continuous borrowing. But in late 2025, the music stopped. Public debt smashed through the psychological barrier of 117.4% of GDP. This is the number where irreversible processes begin. In October 2025, the thing everyone feared finally happened. S&P downgraded France's rating to A+. Moody's set the outlook to negative. What does this mean in plain English? It means creditors no longer believe in France. Now, debt service, just paying the interest, costs the budget 55 billion euros a year. Think about that. France spends as much paying interest to fat cats on Wall Street as it does on its entire army, air force, navy, and nuclear deterrent combined. The country is no longer working for its citizens. It is working for its creditors. This financial dead end has led to political paralysis. In September 2025, the government fell again. The political center is scorched earth. France is becoming ungovernable, and the markets feel it. The spread between French and German bonds, the so-called OAT Bund spread, Europe's main fear index, is widening. Investors are starting to look at France not as the core of Europe, but as the new Greece, only with a nuclear bomb. Two Frances and the threat of civil war. When an economy dies, society fractures into tribes. We see two Frances that no longer speak to each other. France A. This is Paris, Bordeaux, Lyon. Metropolises integrated into the global world. Here they speak English, work in IT and finance, and vote for Macron and the globalists. France B. This is peripheral France, small towns, villages, the Rust Belt. Here, you need a diesel car to get to work because the trains have been canceled. Here, the post office, the maternity ward, and the factory have all closed down. They hate each other. Remember September 2025 and the Bloquons Tout movement, or Block Everything. It was scarier than the yellow vests. 200,000 people didn't just come out with signs. They started blocking the country's logistics, shutting down highways and burning town halls. It was a signal. A portion of the population has effectively seceded from the Republic. They no longer believe in Paris. The great brain drain. And what do the smartest and most ambitious people do in this situation? They vote with their feet. We are witnessing a historic exodus of brains. Walk through South Kensington in London. It is called the 21st arrondissement of Paris. Hundreds of thousands of young French people live there. But now the geography has expanded. Dubai, Singapore, New York, Lisbon. Entrepreneurs, financiers, scientists are running away not because they don't like baguettes. They are running because they know how to do the math. They understand. In France, success is punished. If you build a company and sell it, the flat tax and exit tax will strip you naked. If you stay, you will be demonized as the rich. France exports its talent and imports poverty. It is a demographic suicide pact. The end of the fairy tale. The beautiful fairy tale of French socialism is over. Long lunches, the 35-hour work week, retirement at 60. This was a historical anomaly, paid for by the post-war boom and endless credit. The party is over. The waiter has brought the bill, and the cash register is empty. The French citizen is waking up to a new reality, working harder, earning less, and paying the state even more. The lights on the Eiffel Tower are still on, but the generator in the basement is running on its last drops of fuel. And here is the main thought. When a state the size of France runs out of money, it becomes dangerous. It doesn't just cut spending. It starts looking for money where it sits, in the accounts of its citizens. History teaches us one lesson. When a sovereign debt crisis hits, the wealth tax very quickly turns into wealth confiscation. You think this is impossible in a democracy? In 1933, the U.S. government, the bastion of freedom, didn't ask for permission. President Roosevelt simply signed Executive Order 6102. In one day, owning gold became a crime. The people had their only asset that protected them from inflation and the stupidity of politicians taken away. Those who didn't surrender their gold-faced prison. In the next video, I will tell you the true uncensored story of the Great Gold Confiscation. We will break down the secret protocols, the loopholes the wealthiest clans use to escape, and most importantly, the laws that are in effect today that allow the state to do it again. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the truth. And smash that like button if you want to know if your money actually belongs to you. See you in the vault.